Hey guys, Indy here with Ultimate Tool Reviews, and I wanted to do a really cool video on Makita impact drivers. Now this is all the Makita impact drivers that I have that are the 18 volt impact drivers, and of course you can probably buy most of these, possibly new here and there. Some of them you can, I don't know if you can find maybe the older XDT 14 still. I haven't really checked on that one recently. And what I wanted to do was talk about my favorite impact drivers from Makita up to this point in 2022. Now, Makita might release maybe a new one kind of going into the holiday season. They seem like they release their new ones kind of around that November, December time. And we kind of never know when we're going to find them in stores here and there. But anyways, we did have a new release from Makita this year already with the new XDT 19 that came out a few months ago. We also have the XDT 16 here. That's a very popular impact driver right now. It was the current flagship for a number of years. And then we have the kind of the outgoing XDT 14, which was the top end, a couple of years back before the XDT 16, and then the ever popular and relatively common XDT 13. Now, between these four impact drivers, keep the two XDT 19 and 16 are with me all day, every day. And they're pretty heavily used on job sites, whereas the two here they kind of go to that reserve duty where they're now just at home, and I use them for just at home use, at home projects, and they're still really good impact drivers. Now I will say, if you're looking to get into Makita and you're looking for impact drivers, it's kind of hard to go wrong with really anything that Makita has. However, though, I will say, kind of just if I had to pick any impact driver here, but I had to really, focus on price, I would say, go with the XDT 14. This is my kind of, I've been using this thing for over a year before the XDT 16 came out, and I like how it's very simple, very light, kind of a no frills, right to the point impact driver. Now it's got a couple mode selections here, but very, very simple modes. It's got just 3 speed selection. It's got a self-tapping mode. It has the light adjustment, and overall it's just a great impact driver with some basic modes that kind of get you into the Makita impact driver line. You can find these relatively cheap online. I think they can be had for around 40, 50, 60, 70 bucks in that range, depending on how hard you look. A lot of them, they come with batteries too for around that $70 range, so it makes a really, really good value. Now, of course, going into the holiday season, they always have the XDT 13 or something very similar to that for the $99 mark. Now, if having no modes but just a variable trigger is kind of what you're looking for, this is a great option to go for. When it comes to the just overall use of these, got the brushless motor. The variable speed is it's kind of going to be if you like the trigger, you don't like the trigger feel on these impact drivers. I think the trigger feel is pretty good on these. Definitely a little bit of improvement they could make here and there on those, but not a big deal. But not much to say about this. It's pretty basic. It'll get the job done, of course, but it's going to be a really cheap impact driver. I see these all the time on eBay, brand new for like $45 in the box. They're relatively cheap around that price range. Now, they do have that $99 special. I'm not sure if it's going to be this exact one, but it'll be something very similar. And they give you like a charger, and an impact driver for about $100, $99. And overall, it's a great option as well. So, a fantastic option. I'm going to just spend a little bit of money, get into Makita a little bit. Great way to start. So let's move into the two top end ones that money can buy right now from Makita. Of course, XGT aside, I'm not touching an XGT just yet. We don't have the second gen in the US just over here just yet, but sure it's coming, and I really want to try that new Bluetooth. But I'll say that for a later video when those finally come out. But I know I'm gonna get some comments in this video. Oh, try XGT. You missed the XGT ones. I know, guys, but this is just LXT for this video. But anyways, so I've used the XDT 16 a lot longer than I've used the XDT 19, and I will say, Makita does an excellent job of improving their impact drivers. I felt like this transition here was just incredible. This is like mind-blowing. Going from the 13 to the 14 to the 16, just monster improvements each time those were released. And the XDT 16, honestly, I kind of like it better than the XDT 19. I actually swapped them in my bag from the 19, being the current newest one, as you know, in first place, right? I always grab that one first. I'm kind of reaching back for the 16 actually more, and it's not for a huge amount of reasons really. It's for some just really small stuff. And I was thinking about even doing a separate video on this, but I'm just gonna include it in this video, comparing the 16 and the 19, just my thoughts for using them now for a few months, and really kind of giving you some really, you know, detailed comparisons here of what I don't like and what I do like. So one thing I do like about the XDT19 that it does a lot better than the XDT16 is having that smaller head. So that's one of the things that UC will be compared against on these impact drivers, and a few promotional videos they did, was having that smaller head, and it's a little bit shorter as well too. It enables you to get into, I would say, corners a bit easier than the XDT16, where if you remember the really subcompact DeWalt at Atomic, that thing can't get into corners at all. That thing is a super wide head on that thing, but it's super short. So it's great for working in tight spots, but not for getting into corners. So that's one thing where the XDT16 really shines there. I also do like the new LED color coding on the 19. It's got a really nice green LEDs on the bottom, whereas the 16 just has the red LEDs. The green LEDs are definitely more easy to read in full sunlight. I will give the XDT19 that. However, though, the LEDs down here, your control panel is going to be a lot more cluttered. I'm not a fan of that. How they basically, I'm not sure they maybe did it for cost savings, but they went down from the, let's see here, basically 9 different LEDs down to 5 on this one. Even though they have the exact same number of modes, they have it actually go to over here where you click the button down here for the automatic modes. It goes blue, and then you can now select the mode that signifies or corresponds to the modes that are below it. So it's a little, you know, it can be a little confusing, you know, getting used to it. I mean, if you get used to it, it's not a big deal. But you know, I like the XDT16s. It's so much simpler. You can tell right where you're at. You know, it's just easier to use. You know, if you're, you know, getting the end of your job and you gotta switch modes a couple times, it can get a little fussy on the 19, where you're like, oh, what mode am I in? I gotta read the bottom, not the top. So I like the 16 a little bit better for that. Also, one thing I noticed, and this is really nitpicking here between the 16 and the 19, is if you listen to them, listen to the 19 here. It sounds a little bit higher of a whine there with the motor, whereas here's a 16. Let me get that in full. There it is. It feels really smooth, but there's just something about the 16 that I feel like is just a little bit better for driving in, you know, 3-4 inch long screws. I can't really put my finger on exactly what it is between these two impact drivers, but to me, it just feels like the new motor they went with on the 19, that it's so much thinner now, and it feels like that anvil, or that basically impact mechanism in here, is a little bit rougher than the XDT16. The 16 just kind of feels almost perfect when you're using it. It just has that awesome, you know, just feel the impact, whereas the 19, you can tell where they had to make some modification, make the whole thing thinner. Of course, you know, it's got that, you know, thinner top up here. It just feels different. It's not necessarily, you know, better or worse in my opinion, but I feel like the 16 just has a little bit better kind of sound and impact to it. That's a little bit smoother, and it's not necessarily going to be quicker. They're almost, you know, dead set similar when it comes to power, but I just like the 16's action a little bit better. And, you know, it's not, you know, a huge difference between these two impact drivers. They're both excellent impact drivers. Stuff like, you know, the lighting on both of them are the same. I love this new button they're doing on the bottom here, so you can quick change modes and speeds, which is really nice, so actually having to click the buttons down here. So they've both got a lot of similarities, but, you know, I would say it's like a 3 or 4% difference that's kind of having me go back to the 16. Now, I really love to try some of the new XGT models, of course, but that stuff is just quite expensive right now. Not really impressed by the first generation of the Impact. I'm waiting for the second gen with that new Bluetooth stuff they're doing. But When it comes to these impacts, it's gonna be, you have to try to test them out yourself, both of them. They're super, super close. The 19 definitely is an improvement over the 16, I would say, overall. But if you've been using Makita stuff forever, something about the 16 just kind of feels a little bit better overall after using them both significantly on jobs. So I would kind of give it, they're super neck and neck. But my preference personally is going to be for the 16 actually. Even though I know the 19 is definitely an improvement, they've made a lot of things more compact, more cleaner on the 19, which is cool. But if you were to say, which one would you pick? I would say, definitely go for the 19. But you can also get really good deals on the 16 right now because, of course, they're not the current generation model anymore. So if you're looking to, you still want an awesome impact driver, you don't want to spend too much money, and you want something a little bit better than the older models back here, the 16, I think, is probably the best choice, in my opinion, for a Makita impact driver at this point. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope I answered some questions there. If you have any questions about impacts or Makita stuff just let me know in the comments, guys, below, and I'll try to respond to you as fast as I can. And guys, thanks for watching, guys, and take care.